Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome back. It's time again for another edition of the Weekly Member Spotlight. Cannot believe it is March 1st already, but it is. We are T-minus 27 days to the trade show. The trade show is going to be held on March 28th at the Sharonville Convention Center. So we're going to give you that reminder. Make sure you get registered for that. We are very excited today to be here with one of our partners, Padgett with ePremium. Welcome, Ann.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I've been very excited to get to sit down with you.
It's been a few months you've been asking me to do it.
Well, I tried not to harass, but very excited because you're one of those people that I have seen you for so long, and you're so involved with this association and at the national level.
Yeah.
You're kind of like an industry celebrity, and I've just been dying to sit down and get to know you a little bit better. And
well, you're too kind.
Not even. We're going to talk about everything that you do, but you're very well known. You're very connected and involved, and you're one of our supplier vendor partners. I don't know exactly what you call yourself, but associate member of the GCNKA. So I've been really excited to sit down with you, and I think there's a lot of folks who are going to watch this video who probably feel the same way. They see you, they know who you are, but haven't had the pleasure of
getting to know me.
Yeah, sitting down like this. So
good. Hi.
Thank you. If you would take a moment, introduce yourself, and tell everyone who you work for, what you do, and how you got into the industry.
Okay. Well, I'm Ann. I am the Vice President of Marketing for ePremium Insurance. We are a national supplier that is headquartered here in the greater Cincinnati area, and we are in the renter's insurance business. So what I do a little bit at ePremium is I'm in charge of everything marketing. So whether that's creating materials for your residents to help them learn about renter's insurance, or it's getting involved with the apartment association and getting to know people like yourself.
Right.
So it's kind of all of the above. I got into the industry sort of by accident, kind of like a lot of people. On the supplier side, I was a young graduate out of college. I graduated from college in December of 2002.
Okay.
So that was a couple of months after September 11th.
Yeah.
And the job market was a little rocky at that moment. It was a weird time to kind of start your career.
Right.
But I ended up kind of networking a few different ways, and a friend of mine had a brother who owned a startup company in Bloomington, Indiana, and they needed a web developer.
Okay.
And here I was, this young girl out of college. I had a degree in new media with a focus in web design.
Okay.
And I said, well, I can build websites, you know? And fast forward to today, online leasing, sort of all those technology features. It was early stages in the industry. Back then, people were like, online rent payment, we don't even have a website.
Right. People were probably taking cash for rent back in 2002.
Well, they still are in some places today. But yes, so that's sort of how I got into the business. And so I started as a web developer, sort of over time became the creative director, sort of project manager.
Okay.
That company went through a couple of acquisitions, a merger. I got relocated to Norfolk, Virginia.
Wow.
And in all that process, I got asked to do marketing for a little while. Just marketing. Some of my project management stuff was delegated to some other places. And I got an email one day from NAA. Remember, I'm in Norfolk, Virginia, and this email says, we need somebody in one of these 3 states to be a liaison for the National Suppliers Council. And I was like, I'm in that state.
Yeah.
You know, so I kind of volunteered, and that's how I got my first dip in the toe with NAA committee work. At that point, I was just kind of going to trade shows and working my career and meeting people, but I hadn't really learned what full engagement was. Well, so I got there. I kind of ran through that a little bit fast for you.
No, that's okay. And I got a few questions, but I wanted to kind of take a moment because you are so engaged, and you sent me this list of the committees and some of the boards that you serve on currently and have served on in the past, and it's really exceptional. Like, I don't think I've seen a list like that, and so thank you for all you do. It's one thing I want to say. But tell us a little bit about your involvement, not only with the GCNKAA, but also the National Apartment Association. What do you do? And then maybe talk to some of the committees, speak to some of the committees that have been most, I guess, close to your heart.
Right. Well, when I first got involved, my very first year, I joined and I became a liaison for the National Suppliers Council. That first year I wasn't on any committees, I was just doing that. And then that next year, I was a little shy and I was like, okay, well, just put me on whatever committee you need me on, and I ended up on budget and finance. And I did that for 2 years.
That sounds fun.
It was way over my head, not my area of expertise. I learned a lot, but I wasn't necessarily contributing to that committee. So then I started gaining a little more strength in my voice, and I started saying, oh, I'll do that, or maybe that sounds like a better fit for me. And then in about 2014, I think, NAA started what they called the Next Gen Task Force. It wasn't a full-fledged committee, it was a task force. And that was where we were starting to talk about what is Next Gen. And at the high board level of NAA, they were starting to go, okay, well, we have a lot of people that are looking ahead towards retirement. We have a lot of people that are in this middle section that are maybe getting ready to be promoted, but they were a little more worried about that at the bottom. How are we feeding in? We all look at how we want to get promoted and where we're going, but you have to always be looking to fill your shoes. Right. Or fill your replacement, right? And so we started talking a lot about that, and that kind of sounded like there was a need for that. Everybody sort of resonated with that, and so then they officially created a committee, and that started in, I think, 2015, and I served on that for a few years. And then in about 2014, I think, actually, is the same year that I took my job with ePremium Insurance, and that's when I got relocated here to Cincinnati. So I've been here just about 4.5 years now. Okay. And at that time, I came to Mark Frank, and I said, hi, I'm this new person, and I'm really involved at NAA, and I want to be involved here locally as well. I don't know, where should I go, right? And I got placed on the membership committee. Okay. Which was a great way for me to meet people in Cincinnati, because I didn't know a lot of people. Although I was originally from Indiana and I had some clients in this market, I certainly didn't know a lot of people. I just knew a few people. From there, I also then wanted to reconnect with my friends in Indiana, my clients in Indiana. So I reached out to that apartment association, and I got myself on what they called their Young Professionals in Multifamily Committee, YPM. Yep. In Indiana, that's their kind of version of Next Gen. And so there was a little synergy there. And then while I was here in Cincinnati on the membership committee, we started having a lot of conversations about how to sort of bring in new members or current members who maybe weren't yet participating and coming to some of our general membership meetings. And I kind of threw out a few ideas of things I had seen in other markets, other associations. And we kind of decided to reinvigorate something that the apartment association here had a long time ago, which was called Champions of Leadership. Well, it might have had a slightly different name, but it was something like that, right? And they were like, well, would you be interested in kind of leading this for us? And I was like, well, sure. I had some ideas, and that was another great way for me to meet people. Right. So myself, and that first year I believe was Todd Hignay. He kind of co-chaired that with me, and we got that kicked off. And then the next year, we here in Cincinnati, we've just kind of been growing and growing and growing it. And then at the end of last year was when we kind of decided we have been growing our Champions of Leadership. People are coming, they're having fun. They're networking, all of those great things, but we still weren't quite getting that younger generation, some of those new people, and I don't necessarily mean young as in age, but also new to our industry. Exactly. Some of those on-site folks, our leasing consultants, our maintenance technicians, our assistant managers, some of these people we still haven't quite been bringing into our group. And then we started asking the people that have been coming for some feedback. And one of the things we learned was our name, Champions of Leadership, was confusing people. And a lot of people, I guess, thought it was kind of an exclusive club of current leaders. And we were trying to find those future leaders. So that's where we did a vote, and we decided to become the Next Gen of creating future leaders. So try to tie it together.
And I love that initiative because, like, you started this conversation by saying I got into this industry by accident, and I did too, and so many of the people that I know, you kind of stumble into this, and we can't really, I think, further the industry by accident. We have to do it on purpose. And so having an initiative to get people fresh out of college or just into the workforce, into this industry is just such a great idea. And now, I know Ball State University was one of the first to have a property management major, and so and a degree program. So I love that we are embracing that here, and I'm excited that it's going so well. I know you've got an event coming up from the next gen in February.
We do.
Or
Actually,
March, I'm sorry.
The next
April.
event is in April,
Right.
actually. And myself, actually, unfortunately, will not be there. I will be out of town that day. But we are having an event. It's a breakfast event, a morning event. So I encourage lots of people to come and bring someone new. If you haven't been there before, try to bring someone with you.
And it's April 24th, and it's at the Red Apartments. I'm sorry I sprung that on you. And
I was like, I know the week
I
and
botched
the day
the
of the
month
week,
too.
but the date.
It's April 24th, and it's at the Red, which is one of the Village Green managed properties. So that's how I know it so well. But yeah, I think that would be a really great opportunity for folks who are interested in becoming that next leader or getting on a committee. You said something earlier that really stuck with me too, and I want to just repeat it. You said that you came to Mark and you said, put me where you need me. And I think that is just a really great attitude to have, and we're really trying to encourage engagement, especially from some of the site level folks and maybe people who aren't participating yet in a leadership role at this organization. And so I love that mentality and appreciate it. It doesn't mean you have to stay parked where you go. If it's something that isn't interesting or over your head, like finance, budget, or anything else, there are plenty of opportunities for every different skill set and talent. So
yeah, for sure. And I think the other thing people maybe don't realize is it is a volunteer effort. We are volunteers, and the GCNKA staff are the paid experts, and they do such a great job taking care of us. They do most of the heavy lifting, but us, the volunteers, are also very important. And that is one of the things that my company, ePremium, is very generous in allowing me to do so much volunteer into my schedule, both at the NAA level and here in Cincinnati. You know, they really support that, and you can't get that without that synergy.
Exactly.
But that's what grows all of us forward.
Sure. Well, you've given us a lot of advice through that explanation, but I wanted to ask you specifically if you would take a moment and share some advice with the next generation of folks coming up in this industry.
I would say, really, you get out of it what you put into it. For me, this industry has become a second family. I can't imagine myself not a part of the apartment industry. I have friends all over the country now, and people, not just because I go to national events, but we all get relocated. You know, I have now lived in 3 cities for my career, and it's one big family in a way. So also don't just think little of, you know, your job at your property. You know, that job, that property, that could take you into a career that takes you all over the country. You have no idea. You know, especially in those regional positions, a lot of those people are traveling a lot, and you meet so many people. And I don't know. I guess that is my recommendation for the young people is to really consider the longevity that this industry can take you in a lot of places. There's not one path. There are times where you go up and over and sideways and crisscross. You know, I have only been on the supplier side, but a lot of people have been on both sides. And there's benefits from doing that. We all grow from doing that. It's one big family. That's one of the, you know, early on when you said supplier, vendor, associate member, what you know. First of all, as a member of the National Supplier Council, I would be doing an injustice if I didn't say we like to be called suppliers. A vendor sells you a hot dog or a one-time transaction. We want to build partnerships. And we want your businesses to succeed, because then ours succeed, and then we as individuals succeed, and the industry wins as a whole. So what you do down here actually is a part of a big building block.
Good. Well, thank you very much. Well, can we shift gears a little bit and learn just a little bit about you personally?
I did skip some of that, didn't I?
That's okay. That's okay. We have plenty of time, Ann. So talk to us just a little bit about who you are and tell us about your family.
Okay. Well, I'm originally from Indiana. I am a diehard IU Hoosier basketball fan.
Yeah.
I was in Knoxville earlier this week in my hotel room Tuesday night, screaming and hollering as IU finally won a game in double overtime, almost triple overtime.
Oh.
So it was a late night for me. But in addition to that, I am married. I have a husband. He lives with me here in Cincinnati. He is a jazz musician.
Okay.
We have a cat who I adore very much. She woke me up this morning licking my face. That tongue isn't the most comfortable feeling at 5 a.m.
What's your cat's name?
Biscuits is her name, and my husband named her.
How did that originate?
Plural. Good question. We adopted her, and I think before we adopted her, we had been looking online at other cats, and maybe another cat was named that.
Right.
But that was not the cat we adopted.
Okay.
So, I don't know. You just go with
Funny
it
name
sometimes. Too neat.
So, tell us anything else about your family?
So most of my family is actually not in Indiana anymore. I have a sister who is married with children, and she lives in Germany right now.
Okay.
I have a brother married with children. He lives in Virginia, actually. He was they're both Navy or Air Force, military related. I am an aunt. I have, 2 nieces, 2 nephews, a great nephew, and then 2 step nephews and a step niece.
Wow.
So I have a lot of family, and I love my family. They're a big part of my life. I'm a great aunt, if I didn't mention that. So
when you wrote great aunt, I didn't know if you meant you were like an awesome
Awesome
aunt
aunt?
or
Yeah.
like really a great aunt. Sounds like both.
My siblings are a little older than me. They're 9 and 12 years older than me.
Okay.
So my brother, when he started having a family, I was about 10 years old.
Okay.
So now he is a grandpa, which makes me a great aunt.
There you go. I'm going to be a great aunt at the end of this year. I'm really excited.
It's a lot of fun.
I've been a great aunt for many years, a fabulous aunt, but I'm going to be a real great aunt.
Yes.
It's coming up very soon, so I can
It's a lot of
appreciate
fun.
where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Right.
And my older niece and nephew love to dig me on how I'm a great aunt without having any children of my own.
It's the best kind of aunt, actually.
Sometimes.
Right. So, are you a reader? Have you read any good books lately?
I do like to read. In the last 2 or 3 years, it's been my goal to spend more of my free time not staring at screens.
Sure.
I spend so much of my time, we all do,
Right.
either on our phones, our tablets, our laptops, our TVs. It's all a screen. And I work a lot. Not having kids, I do work probably more than I maybe should. And so I joined Book of the Month,
Okay.
which is an online club a couple of years ago, and so now I'm reading hardback books. I actually just finished 2 so far this year. I'm on my 3rd, but the first one of the year I finished was called Spinning Silver, and it's a very strange book, sort of a play on Rumpelstiltskin in a way. It was kind of a fantasy, but I like to read. It helps me not focus on all the stress of life. Right.
Do you ever listen to books, audio books, or anything?
Not so much. I have an adversity to headphones. The longer they're in my ears or on my head, the more annoyed I get. Maybe it's the glasses. I don't know.
So you like holding a book?
Yes, because I used to on the planes. I also travel a lot.
Sure.
On planes, I was living with my headphones and my ears would hurt so much. To be honest,
I can appreciate
so
that.
that's why I've started going to the book, and I do listen to a lot of music, just not through my headphones.
Right. You mentioned your husband is a jazz musician.
Yes.
What does he play?
He plays guitar.
Okay.
He plays guitar. He is not currently playing in a band. And jazz musicians they kind of network. They're freelancers in a way. And you heard me talk about my relocations. That poor man is relocated with me to all of these cities.
Right.
And one of the benefits of moving to Ohio is we were able to buy a house with a little bit of land, so he takes care of the house, the land, and my kitty cat for me while I travel.
Well, we were talking about favorite restaurants, and you mentioned one of my favorites, and you said because they have the music. What's one of your local favorites?
One of my local favorites is Carlo and Johnny's. Yeah, there's a couple of reasons. One, it's probably the first restaurant in Cincinnati I actually visited.
Sure.
When I traveled in to meet with ePremium the first time, that's where Chad took me. But also I love jazz, and so it's one of the places my husband likes to go.
Sure.
And you can't go wrong with a good steak and a dirty martini. I love some blue cheese olives.
Oh, I haven't had that from Carlo and Johnny's, but I'm gonna have to try that out. Actually, I
Yeah.
haven't been in a year.
Well,
or
they
two,
also
but-
have wonderful wine, which I also like.
Right.
But,
Right. Well,
You
you
know.
being a musician's wife, I'm sure go to a lot of concerts. What's one of your more memorable concerts?
Well, actually, here in Cincinnati, we have found we found Xavier University has a music series and have jazz series, so we kind of have season tickets to that, and that has been a lifeline for us. It's been a lot of really neat musicians. The next concert we're going to is in March. It's a trumpet player named Avishai Cohen. Truth behold, I thought it was a bass player whose name is also Avishai Cohen from Israel, whom I love.
There are two?
Apparently there are two. So I bought when I got
one.
these tickets and I was all excited. My husband was like, by the way, it's a different one. You did know that, didn't you? And I was like, no.
Oh, that's funny.
So I was a little disappointed, but
extremely
it'll be
great.
wonderful.
Well, good. Well, we're gonna wind it down. I got two more questions, I think,
Okay.
for you. Tell us something random about yourself.
Something random. Okay. Well, like a lot of people, when I was in college, I sort of supported myself by waiting tables. I worked in fine dining. But I also did a little stint for a while. I worked for Arthur Murray Dance Studios in Broad Ripple, Indianapolis,
Wow.
and I taught social ballroom dances.
Wow.
So as the young person on staff, I mostly taught wedding couples, a lot of rumbas and waltzes.
That's fun.
But yeah.
Were you a dancer? growing
I
up?
did a lot of dance and theater when I was younger.
Uh-huh.
And I took a little dance in college,
Uh-huh.
and I hadn't specifically done ballroom
Sure.
dancing until that job.
Well, that's
but
fun.
yeah, I did a lot of that stuff.
And especially like for wedding training.
That
That's
was
really
a lot
cool.
of fun. Well, because back to the waiting tables part, I also did a lot of catering events, so I've
Uh-huh.
worked a lot of weddings.
Right.
So that was kind of a different
Yeah.
aspect of it, so it was kind of fun.
Very fun.
And
All
seeing
right.
young couples in love, you know,
Oh, yeah.
it's positive energy.
Oh, that's fun. I didn't know there was an Arthur Murray in Broad Ripple.
It may or may not still be there. When I worked there, it was just opened,
Got it.
and I think the space is in now might be a bar.
We had an
So-
office there for about a year or so,
Okay.
so I got to know that area
Mhm.
a little bit, but
It
it's
was
been a
kind
while
of right
too.
behind the Vogue, so if there was a loud Vogue
Okay.
concert,
That's funny.
you could hear it through the walls.
All right, well, last question for you, and we've asked this question
Mhm.
of most of our guests here, and I really like putting folks on the spot because it's a thought-provoking question, but what would you say that people who know you from this industry think about you? How they describe you?
Okay. Well, I know a lot of people in a lot of different capacities, so I think different people know me for different things. But in general, I think people would say that I'm motivated and outgoing, dedicated, and willing to serve.
Definitely willing to serve.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a post a little bit later today and share this information and a few pieces of feedback from some of your colleagues in the GCNKAA and
Okay.
throughout your career that we've talked to. And I definitely think that dedicated portion comes into play. The list is like pages long, it looks like, for all of your committees. So it has been a pleasure. Thank you very much for taking time to come down and sit with us and talk a little bit about your experience. We appreciate it. Thank you for being our supplier partner and being so involved with not only the GCNKAA but the NAA. So we appreciate everyone listening. We'll be back next week, and everyone have a great weekend. Thank you.